Each person, then, will have different associations attached to his hooks, and basically this is why misunderstandings often occur. How often, when you say something with the best of intentions, do you find that it's taken the wrong way? That's because you have certain hooks attached to the words that you're sending out, while the person receiving them may in fact have quite different ones. Now, all words carry these associative hooks, but I want here to talk about two main kinds of words: creative words and recall words. Creative words have no special meaning, but give us all kinds of possibilities for interpretation. For example, horror, beauty, ooze, bizarre. You see these creative words in literature, in poetry, in advertising, in newspaper placards. The second are key recall words. A recall word funnels into it a large amount of very specific information. When this word is triggered, we get exactly the same kind of information out as we put in. Usually we see words in lines and lists, but the words in our minds are linked not in lists and lines, but in pattern structures. Up to now I've been describing the basic tools with which our minds work: visual processes, memory, and the nature of information. With these we need to build up a unified approach to learning, to problem solving, and to creative thinking. A first step is to look again at those pattern structures in our minds. They lead us to a total revision of our concept of note-taking. Standard notes contain a lot of wasted words. So we start by taking 2 sheets of blank paper, no lines, using centers for the main areas of interest, and the hook nature of words to develop patterns on paper that are projections of the images in our minds. The right-hand page is for essential linear and graphic information, our final 2-page notes. These patterns, although informative, still have the character of black and white photographs. However, the patterns in our minds are not just 2-dimensional, like photographs, but are more like holograms, the new 3-dimensional form of photography. So a few imaginative leaps can enhance patterns, making them much more meaningful representations of what's going on inside our heads. Relevant images and relevant lettering help trigger the correct recall when you come to review these notes. This method of projecting the patterns in our minds onto paper is essential to what I call the organic study technique. You'll recall that this is divided into 2 main sections: preparation and application. In preparation, the first 2 steps are deciding on the period of time for study and deciding on the amount to be studied. These 2 are linked by the concept Gestalt, the need for your mind to work in complete units. The time and amount should be organized in roughly 20 to 40-minute units to ensure that understanding and recall work in best harmony. The 3rd and 4th steps involve making 2 2-minute patterns, one on what you already know about the subject, the other on questions you want answered. This gives you a proper mental set. In other words, enables you to concentrate better. This leads to the second section of the organic study technique, application. The application consists of 4 main steps. Overview, in which you look at the basic framework, table of contents, indices, results, summaries and conclusions, graphs, photographs and illustrations, etc. Preview, in which you survey the printed text, concentrating on the beginnings and ends of paragraphs and sections. In view, where you fill in, define areas of difficulty without at this stage lingering over them, and also prepare to take notes. And finally, review, where you make your final pattern notes and sort out the remaining areas of difficulty. Remember the jigsaw puzzle? Building a jigsaw puzzle can be compared to the learning process. When you come to a difficult piece, put it to the side, wait for later, and carry on building up your pattern as you go. Another difficult piece, put it to the side. As the pattern develops and other difficult pieces are discarded, the general form begins to take shape. And those difficult pieces fit in easily. Once you have sorted out these areas of difficulty and finished your pattern notes, that particular study period is complete. You should review the patterns shortly after you have stopped studying, and remember, again at the end of a week and at increasing intervals. This will fix the information in your mind. During each further study period, you'll be making more patterns, adding where appropriate any bits and pieces of information you may come across from other sources. As these patterns develop, you will find your mind becoming increasingly more open to new associations and new material. Once you have a number of these pattern notes going, you can start sifting the information and building up a large master pattern, which will then become a reflection on paper of your overall grasp of the subject. This last program, I hope, has been doing just that. I have been reviewing previous programs, and you are building up an ongoing pattern of which this is a framework. Each bit of this pattern shows how every element of the course is inextricably interlinked to the rest. For instance, many memory techniques use key words. Key words are essential for patterns. Patterns are the basis for study, which is obviously linked to the ability to read and use your eyes, and so on. If you've followed these programs, you can now review each one in the light of the information from the others, and can go on expanding your own ability to use all that information. Well, this exemplifies what I hope from now on will be your new approach to learning and thinking. Having ongoing master patterns on your main areas of interest or study first keeps you up to date on all your knowledge and all the time stimulates your mind to a further inquiry. And secondly, it enables you to use the information for essay writing, speech making, minute taking, reports, problem solving, in fact, for anything that you need to do mentally. The fact that this information is stored in pattern form will make the task of writing easier and the results more meaningful and more coherent. What's so delightful about all of this is that the more you do it, the more rewarding it all becomes. Your mind really is freed, your imagination really does take off, and the whole process becomes a real pleasure. I'll leave you with our two ardent shed builders.
Mr. Linear Man and Mr. Pattern Man eagerly await the delivery of 2 kits from Constructor Shed Limited. Mr. Linear Man studies his instructions carefully, line by line. Meanwhile, Mr. Pattern Man keywords his instructions and begins to build up a fantastic pattern. Mr. Linear Man can't believe his eyes. Mr. Pattern Man already has that B7 in place. Sometime later, Mr. Pattern Man puts the final touch to his super constructor shed. Uh-oh, just look at that mess. Har, har, har.